Hi, the SI meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Tuesday, October 15th. Halfway through the month of October, the first half of the month has been well above normal throughout the Mid-Atlantic region, the Northeast, and the Midwest, with temperatures averaging some 4 to 7 degrees above normal in places like Philadelphia, New York City, Washington, all the way out to Chicago and Minneapolis. Thought we'd take a look at the second half of October because big changes are on the way. It certainly looks like a change to much colder, especially for the upper part of the Midwest over the second half of the month of October. Let's begin by looking at the latest North Atlantic Oscillation Index. We track this index more and more as we approach the winter months. It sometimes can tip us off in terms of cold air intrusions into the northern part of the country from the central interior section of Canada when it's a negative value, and indeed we have tanked over the last few days. Here's the very latest North Atlantic Oscillation, the NAO index. It is sharply negative now and dropping still over the next couple of days. It'll reach heights that it hasn't really reached in the last several months. It did tank a few weeks ago right in here, but it looks like it's actually going to get a little bit lower over the next few days, and indeed that is kind of indicating some cold air intrusions are on the way. And sure enough, we'll go over some maps, forecast maps, in the next few minutes. It does look like cold air from central Canada will work its way into the northern U.S. and eventually spread itself all the way to the East Coast. Again, the biggest change will be coming for the upper part of the Midwest, the Great Lakes region, where not only cold air, but there certainly could be some lake effect snow for the first time this season. Well, one of the things that does happen when you get a negative NAO index, as it looks like we have right now, and it will continue to drop over the next couple of days, is you get blocking over Greenland, and that tends to force cold air intrusions from central Canada into the northern part of the country. This is the 8 to 10 day the 7 to 10 day height anomaly forecast, a 500 millibar height anomaly forecast from last night's 0Z European model run. We'll take a look at the GFS in a moment. And it's indicating here, certainly indicated by the reds here, high pressure ridge popping up along the west coast. At the same time, a deep upper level trough sets itself up over the western part of the Great Lakes, the upper part of the Midwest. And all of this, the flow of air, sends cold air right in this region, screaming southward from central Canada into the northern part of the country. And this is a cold weather pattern. If this were winter time, snow lovers would certainly be happy, because a negative NAO like this is often a precursor of some snow possibilities in the northeastern U.S., as we do in fact have these cold air intrusions. So a deep upper level trough, according to this height anomaly forecast from last night's European model run, will set up over the western part of the Great Lakes. At the same time, strong high pressure ridge builds along the west coast and spills out over Greenland. Again, this is indicative of a blocking pattern setting up at the northern latitudes that tends to force cold air, undercuts it into the northern part of the country. Is the GFS model doing the same thing? Well, let's take a look at that next. Well, indeed it is. This is looks very similar. This, by the way, this map and the previous one are from the Penn State EWOL site. This is the GFS 0Z last night's run, the 500 millibar height anomaly forecast for the end of the week and the early part of next week. Again, a deep upper level trough sitting right on top of the Great Lakes region. Strong high pressure ridge building along the west coast, and quite a blocking pattern setting up as well, with high pressure in the upper part of the atmosphere situated over Greenland. All of this forces cold air intrusions into the northern part of the country, and indeed the second half of October looks much colder than the first half, much colder than normal, especially centered on the upper part of the Midwest and the Great Lakes. It'll tend to get progressively colder as we go over the through the next 5 to 10 days or so. Well, how does all this upper level pattern change translate itself down to the surface? Well, we're looking at forecast maps from last night's 0Z GFS model run at 850 millibars, a temperature forecast, long range. This is 7 days out from last night's 0Z GFS model run. These maps are from the CIMSS Wisconsin website. And typically when you see blues here, you're talking about freezing down near the surface or below. And sure enough, this is 7 days out. I just want to show you how consistent this change to cold looks like it will be across the Midwest into the Northeast. This is 7 days out. Notice a cold air intrusion right here, number 1. Let's now jump ahead to 10 days out. And here's the forecast for 10 days out. Very similar pattern here with a cold air intrusion into the upper part of the Midwest and northeastern part of the country. Again, relative to normal, the most severe change will be over the western Great Lakes and the upper part of the Midwest, but it'll be colder than normal all the way from that part of the country to the East Coast. This is 10 day out. Now let's jump ahead to 13 days out. Yet again, another cold air intrusion with surface low pressure here. This very well could result in a Great Lakes snow event. Now, obviously, this time of the year, the Great Lakes are still quite warm, so any kind of a cold air intrusion this time of the year could really cause some instability and a potential first Great Lakes snow event of the season. This is 13 days out. Let's go way ahead, another 3 days to 16 days out. I know this is looking way ahead. This is 16 days out. Yet another cold air intrusion, perhaps the coldest of them all at the end of the month, the very first part of the month of November. This is looking long range, but the fact that the European model tends to support what the GFS model does increases our confidence that the second half of the month of October look much colder than the first half, especially centered over the western Great Lakes, the upper part of the Midwest, but it'll be colder than normal from that part of the country all the way to the East Coast during the second half of the month of October. We'll continue to monitor this here at the SIweather.com. That's it for now. For the SI, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.